What's going on, guys? Quick update to the rubbing sound or squeaking that I was getting when I was steering at low speeds. The other night, actually Labor Day evening, it was just before Tuesday morning when I had to go to work. It's late at night. It was like around 11:30, and I took the car out for a quick spin. And as I was going over some bumps, I was actually getting like I guess a jockling sound, if you will. Anytime the spring would compress, like going over a bump or something like that, I was getting like this kind of like jockling noise, as opposed to the slow rubbing noise that I was getting when I was steering in the parking lot. So of course that freaked me the hell out, and I came right back home and didn't want to do it, but I went ahead and took the whole wheel off and the whole strut assembly. As soon as I took the wheel off, though, I was pushing up and down on the rotor, and I was getting play in the strut without the string even compressing, which you're not supposed to do. And I was actually hearing a little bit of that jockling noise. So right there, I kind of figured out what the problem was, at least that jockling noise. Because the first thing I checked, I thought, was the bolts up here on top of the strut. All those were tight and secure, so the play wasn't coming from there. I was actually getting play underneath this dust cap. You have your strut mount. This keeps the cap on top of the strut rod, and there's a bolt down in there, and there's actually some bearings. There's a bushing down in there. So this bolt somehow wiggled itself loose, and I don't know if that's my fault when I initially did the spring install. I don't think it was, though, because I would have had problems and noise immediately. And when I did this job, I took the car out extensively before taking it out on the highway, and I had no noise, no rubbing, no nothing. So between the time I did that job and maybe about a month and a half later is when I started hearing that rubbing noise, and I just really didn't have the time to take the whole wheel off and do it all over again. Plus it's been hot as crap lately, and I just didn't feel like working in a hot garage. So I kind of left the problem alone. It was just kind of like a low grade rubbing noise, and I thought it was probably the rubber. There's actually a rubber piece underneath here on the inside, and I figured maybe it was just the rubber kind of moving, realigning itself. But come to figure out, this bolt wiggled itself loose to the point where I was actually getting play in the strut up and down when I was going over bumps. So I took the whole strut assembly off, and I went ahead and retightened this nut. And when I was looking down in there, and I don't know if you can see it right now, but much to my dismay, that little bit of play that was going on kind of fucked up my bearings in there. There's grease in there, and I noticed like little flecks of metal. The grease was kind of silvery, which it's not supposed to be. So my bearings were getting screwed up over here. So I need a new strut mount, or what some people call a top hat. And I'm going to go ahead and replace, these are the stock ones. I'm going to go ahead and order the Group N strut mounts. I think they're like STI grade, kind of like the pitch stop mount that Last Human's Garage did. It's an OEM quality piece, Subaru OEM, but it's called Group N, and it's made of stiffer material, and I think it even has a more durable bushing. So I'm going to order a pair of those and replace the fronts, and I'll probably redo the rears as well, just replacing these. It gives you a little bit stiffer ride, better ride quality, supposedly more sportier handling, and I think the bushing is a little bit more durable. So I'm not sure if that was my fault or not. But I know when I was on NASIOC, I was seeing a lot of threads from older Subarus where people were making the same comment that they had a bushing, their strut mount go bad, and they didn't do any sort of modifications to their car. It was just stock. So that might just be a known issue for that part. It might not be a good quality part. Another thing that I found, real quick, this might help, but for anybody that's doing strut work, you can always use a box wrench to get down in there. If you have a box wrench with a good 90-degree curve, this one is not curved 90 degrees or as sharply as I need it to be, and that may be why I didn't get this bolt so tight. So what I ended up doing, I went to Lowe's and I perused and I found this doohickey, and it's a 17 millimeter socket with a wrench end. So what you can do, and you can see, fits right in there very well. Leaves the hole open now, so you can put your Allen key down in there to keep the shock rod from turning. And then you take a box wrench or an open end wrench and you fit it over the top of this. Fits right on there. And you can turn the bolt and hold your Allen key in place to keep the strut rod from turning. So there's another little tip for you. Worked out real well. I was able to actually tighten this bolt in here while keeping it installed in the car, and I actually wanted to do that since the spring is under load and it's compressed. So I got the bolt nice and tight. Should hold me for a week or however long it takes my parts to get here, and then I'll swap those out. But just an FYI and an update, the noise seems to have been a loose bolt up here in the top hat or the strut mount that connects it to the actual shock that's in the strut. Any other questions or any other tips, just hit me up. Take it easy, guys.